the description of the Prophet. He's eating and his piece of food is in that, it doesn't reach his mouth. But that will be on Day of Judgment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the earth. Inherent in the earth, its instability. You know that we are living on a very, very small, thin crust. And beyond that, we have lava, and beyond that we have the core of the earth, which is extremely hot. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who made it. And on that day they shall see a sadr. They will see the big tear in the earth that nobody have seen before. But I'm saying this not to warn you about and make you afraid. Because inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who come to the masjid here, I'm not worried about you. You have iman, and inshallah your children will have iman, and their grandchildren will have iman. But I'm going to warn you, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet, told us that بين يدي الساعة, he warned us, expect more earthquakes and not less. In a hadith which is muttafaqun alayh, agreed upon. And whenever somebody in this position or anywhere tells you a hadith muttafaqun alayh, take it to the bank, as they say. You know what it's muttafaqun alayh? Not only Bukhari and Muslim narrated it simultaneously, but the sanad and matan are the same. The matan, meaning the verbiage of the hadith, is almost identical, but more importantly, the ruwat, the narrators, are identical. So if Sahih Bukhari and Muslim agree on a hadith which is narrated by the same narrators with the same meaning, this is the best of the best. The Prophet ﷺ said in this hadith, لا تقوم الساعة, the day of the hereafter that we're talking about shall not come or rise or happen. And he talked about 5 conditions. Number 1, he said, حتى يقبض العلم, knowledge, and here we're talking about Sharia knowledge, about the knowledge of halal and haram, is being lessened. يقبض, as if you gave somebody knowledge and then you take it away from him. It will be taken away. How would it take the knowledge, the real knowledge will be taken away? When big scholars die and there are no successors in terms of their caliber, or if their successors are compromised, they're both what we see nowadays, big scholars who are bought through money, incentives. Unfortunately, they will not give. These are not the ulama. So the first thing, remember this, يقبض العلم, the real knowledge, the شرعي knowledge, علم الحلال والحرام والآخرة, shall be lessened. So if you hear about a scholar, and you know, and alhamdulillah we have the internet, go and learn. Sha'rawi, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with him, radiyallahu anhu, the Imam Sha'rawi, he's still available in knowledge, his cassettes, his tapes. I'm talking about that. Ibn Baz. We have many scholars whose works is still preserved in terms of books, videos, etc. Imam al-Nadawi, Abu al-A'la, Qaradawi, who just passed away. Many other scholars that we are knowing of. He said, Allah, Prophet ﷺ said, وَتَكْثُرُ الزَّلَازِلِ. Said, before the day of judgment, there will be more earthquakes. Noticeable. You'll witness them and you'll see them. وَيَتَقَارَبُ الزَّمَانِ. Subhanallah, يعني, if you go back to that time, people who would hear يَتَقَارَبُ الزَّمَانِ, that time shall collapse. People don't understand it, but now we do. Do you recall when was last Ramadan? And Ramadan will be next month. Don't you feel that the year became months and a week passes by as if it's few days? That's taqarub al-zaman. And the Prophet ﷺ said, وَتَظْهَرُ الْفِتَنِ. This is something we are seeing. Tribulations will be on the surface. Testing, always. We're tested with our iman. We're tested with our aqidah. We're tested in, alhamdulillah, we're tested here. Maybe nothing compared with the other Muslims in China and India and Palestine are witnessing right now. And maybe the pressures that they see, that we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala we're not seeing, at least in this country. But we also are tested with this agenda, the generation agenda, the homosexuality. And don't think that having the laws in this country being allowed, all these new laws that did not exist before, that they will go unnoticed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then let there be no doubt that the zilzal can be a punishment of Allah. No doubt. On the day when the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, the worst day he had, when he visited Ta'if and he was physically stoned and he was bloodied, Jibreel came to him and he brought with him another angel. He said, Ya Muhammad, tell us, what do you want? Here's Malik al-Jibal, the angel of mountains. If you wish, Ya Muhammad, the mountains of Mecca shall collapse on all of people of Mecca. Right now, as a punishment for what they did. But the Prophet ﷺ said, no, I'm hopeful if it is not them, then their children shall embrace Islam. And this is exactly what happened. Shu'aib, Zulzilu, they died by earthquake. Let there be no doubt that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about this in the Quran. قل هو القادر in Surah, I think, Al-An'am. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, قل هو القادر على أن يبعث عليكم عذابا من فوقكم. From the top. Hurricanes. Have you heard about hurricanes of Florida? This is عذاب from the top. Hurricanes. أو عذابا من تحت أرجلكم. He will shake the earth underneath. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, وَيَكْثُرُ الْهَرْجِ, meaning the killing shall be increased. And in another narration, the Prophet ﷺ said, a killing will happen such that the killer doesn't know who he killed, who killed him, and the killer doesn't know who he killed. This is new warfare. Previously, you would know who you killed because you had a dagger, you had a sword, you would fight it out and you know who you killed. But right now, you don't know. And in another hadith narrated specifically by Imam Ahmad, and this is very telling, and about Yawm al-Qiyamah and about the end of days, he said, there will be two great death tolls. موتتان عظيمتان. After that, there will be the age or sanawat or years of earthquakes. Now, what are the two mawtatan? We don't know, but we can speculate. Could it be the First World War and the Second World War? Could be. Because the amount of death that happened in the First World War and the Second World War were second to none. In the history of mankind, never 40 million died in one war. But could it be the war that we are starting to see in Ukraine? Maybe. But the Prophet ﷺ said, بين يدي الساعة موتتان شديدتان وبعده سنوات الزلازل. Now, the question that comes to our mind, what should be our attitude? First of all, for those who don't believe in hereafter, for those who don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and for those who don't believe in Jannah and Nar, they cannot fathom earthquakes. And they cannot understand and appreciate how could Allah allow for an earthquake to take away kids, women, children, Muslims, non-Muslims. If you only concentrate and you think about this life, you cannot solve that. But for us Muslims, we do have a solution. And it is based rock solid on our belief system that we believe after this life that we go through, whether it is 70 years or 100 years or 120 years, there shall be a life hereafter which is infinite. Infinite. The Prophet ﷺ said, to give us an example, he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring on day of judgment the worst human who had the worst experience on earth. He was the most miserable. Perhaps he died in fire. He was hungry. He was downtrodden. Think about the most person who had the worst of life throughout his life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will dip him in Jannah, in and out. They asked him, have you seen any misery in your life? He said, no. No. He'll forget about all his misery. In one dip, he didn't live in Jannah yet, and he was not put in his manzila, in his abud. He didn't see the Hur al-Ain yet. He didn't see his palaces. He didn't see his people, his friends. No. He just was dipped. فَغُمِسَ. This is the word. He was dipped in Jannah and taken back. He said, have you seen any misery in your life? He said, La wallah, I haven't. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring the one who is most blessed with everything in this dunya, and He'll put him in hellfire, dip him in hellfire, and he will be asked, have you seen any blessings in your life? He said, La wallah, I don't. This is an example that the Prophet ﷺ tells us to draw a picture that what Allah has for us is much greater than what I think. In a hadith, authentic,